Rosana is a multifaceted, interdisciplinary storyteller. She's an educator, and she's a published author and a poet. She's a native Chicana of East San Jose, the firstborn of 9 siblings, a mother of 3 beautiful and fierce guerreras, a trucker's wife, a perpetual collaborator, an outspoken advocate and poetic orator whose life's work is grounded in her mission to embrace personal power through creative inspiration. As an educator, she's taught at the high school and college levels while also offering a range of professional development workshops and consulting services in partnership with various organizations and individuals throughout Santa Clara County. She has shared spoken word at the San Jose Women's March and on the radio as a keynote speaker for the Santa Clara County Office of Immigrant Relations New American Fellowship, and is an ongoing thought partner in several pockets of the county at large. One of her proudest works of art involves her role as the co-founder and editor of East Side magazine, through which she remains forever in awe of the power of telling stories by us, for us, and about us, with heart in hand, ink to the page, and allows hollering truths. To convene the experiences, talent, spirit, and voice of our East San Jose community is truly something special, and I'm grateful to Rosana, to Omar, and all those creatives who have devoted themselves to this endeavor. Thank you for listening, and I kindly ask Professor Rosana Alvarez to get us started.
Thank you to the Honorable Magdalena Carrasco for having us here with you, and I say us intentionally, and you'll hear why in just a bit. Obviously, I'm always at the ready, and you see that from my awkward standing here during that long introduction. But I think that I'm grateful both to Honorable Magdalena Carrasco, the staff, and all of the city council members here, and the good citizens of my hometown, San Jose, California. And what a privilege to stand here today after the beautiful show of community, celebration, and heart that we saw not just through May Day and Viva Calle, but at the reopening of Empire 7, which stands as a resurrected testament to the resilience of San Jose. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also contextualize the historical significance of Cinco de Mayo as a timeless signifier of belonging. While it remains a chronically misunderstood and slightly misinterpreted quasi-non-holiday, it's worth noting the significance of the many, many layers of community and belonging it historically has solidified within a place that values diversity and celebrates cultural difference. As we think about that historical connection that both roots and grounds us across space and time, let us take a moment to reflect on who we carry with us into this work. Let us take a moment to think about all of those people that shape our commitment, that constellation of beautiful, complicated people that shape our city, our neighborhoods, our neighbors, our families. As a poet and a danzante, folks sometimes mistaken me from time to time for being a performer. And often I circle back to remind folks that poetry is not a performance, it is the truth of our hearts shared on display. And danza, Aztec dance, is both a prayer and an invocation, a call on and for community to show up with dignity, integrity, history, and palabra, or what some folks would understand as quite simply, your word. When we consider the nuance involved in that, it requires us to show up relentlessly, sometimes diplomatically, with integrity, toward doing right for the ripples of generations impacted by our decisions and actions. And in that way, I suppose I show up as both poet and danzante, even when I leave my feathers and regalia at home. And in some ways, this gathering, this city council meeting, this meeting of strategic minds that carry so much heart and passion into this work is poetry. Because at the root of that is both justice and just us. people. People gathered in connection and sincerity, representing justly the broader cross-section of people, la gente de San Jose. People like my father who built a business in this city, people like my grandparents who worked in the fields, the canneries, the electronics assembly lines, people like my mother who worked within the overlooked pockets of education, people like me, and I'll leave that open to interpretation. And a poet is as much a listener and observer as she is a scribe, a shapeshifter, often forged through a seemingly chaotic, nonlinear journey that some would mistaken for fire, where others sense a mirror of how we collectively are living poetry. So in the spirit of Floricanto, let our decisions be guided by poetry, a commitment to holding up a mirror to where we are as people and how we can reimagine where we could be as we take action to do what is right for all of us, as opposed to simply reinforcing the select privileges of a few. So we, everyone that I represent in my communities, we call on you respectfully to gather the fullness of who you are and who you carry with you into this work, grounding ourselves toward a collective vision of a more just and equitable world where everyone is seen, valued, and heard in their humanity. Let us take a moment to think about how our ancestors showed up not just in resilience, but in their joy. Let us take a moment to think about how we are showing up for our elders, keeping their dignity intact daily. Let us take a moment to think about how we can do right by our youth. Let us take a moment to think about how we can keep that hopeful, vibrant spirit of every one of our children alive. Let us take a moment to think about how we can do right by all men, women, non-binary, and non-gender conforming folks, and the unhoused. Let us take a moment to think about our history as the heart of Silicon Valley, the center of the Valley of Heart's Delight. We've always fancied ourselves a region of abundance. And lastly, let us take a moment to ground ourselves in the courage and humility to both listen and act for that beautiful, complicated constellation of people we represent, bridging past and present, serving with humility, integrity, and heart to push for parity, equality, equity, and justice in our everyday governance, aligning our actions with our words. Gracias.
Thank you. So let's keep Councilmember Carrasco's month going, the month of May, and will you join me at the podium to recognize and proclaim May Day?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to be here all month, folks. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me as I proclaim May 1st, May Day. Celebrated on May 1st, Workers' Day is observed to commemorate both the wins and the losses of workers and the labor movement, memorializing their struggles in the name of workers' rights. May Day was first recognized in 1889 by an international federation of socialist groups and trade unions, both in support of workers and in commemoration of the 1886 Haymarket Riot in Chicago. The Haymarket Riot, also known as the Haymarket Massacre, was part of a national campaign working to secure an 8-hour workday back when a 16-hour workday was normal. The riot resulted in casualties as police intervened to protect strikebreakers and intimidate strikers during a union manifestation at the McCormick Harvesting Machine Company. Later, 8 men were tried for conspiracy of murder, and 4 of them were hanged, thus becoming international martyrs for the rights of workers everywhere. It's recorded that during his last moment of life, August Spies, one of the convicted men, cried out, "There will come a time when our silence will be more powerful than the voices you strangled today." Then President Grover Cleveland signed legislation to make Labor Day the official U.S. holiday in honor of workers. Now, as it stands, May Day serves to advocate for the rights of workers, more pay, better conditions, while Labor Day serves to celebrate the dignity of work. We owe so much to the leaders and the martyrs of the labor movement. A guaranteed minimum wage, an 8-hour workday, a 40-hour work week, and time and a half overtime, all thanks for the fight for justice. And as COVID-19 swept through the world, we again found ourselves challenged to ensure the rights of workers everywhere, especially for those essential workers, our field laborers, store clerks, doctors, nurses, first responders, teachers, all those who weren't afforded the benefits of working from home. We honor the lives of those lost to COVID-19 and once again reckon with the workers' rights as the discourse for a 4-day work week is more prevalent, as conversations about workplace conditions become normal, and as workers understand the value of their service. It's with that sentiment that I present this proclamation to Jean Cohen with the South Bay Labor Council, David Bini with the Santa Clara and San Benito Counties Building and Construction Trades Council, and Enrique Arguello, with Enrique Arguello and Luis was here also, with Liuna Local 270. Through their collective work, they represent thousands of hardworking men and women who add to the value of our great city. They're front and center at the battle for wage theft and modern-day slavery, and it's through their work that we are reminded that without labor, capital is non-existent. In San Jose, we honor the work of these men and women. They literally have built this city, our homes, our roads, our bridges. They educate our children and make our city run. In battles of values, we have to rise above and make sure that families have dignified work and can feed their children, especially here in the Bay Area, where cost of living is so incredibly high. We cannot expect families to live in poverty, and a good union job secures that. They may not be wealthy, but they have a solid quality of life. Their kiddos have access to opportunity. I thank you all for ensuring the well-being of our families. And I ask the mayor, who just joined us, hi Mayor, to present the commendations to our representatives, Jean, David, and Enrique. And you were saying a few? Okay.
Thank you so much to the City Council and Council Member Carrasco in particular. The Labor Council represents 100,000 working men and women and 101 unions, but the work we do every day is to advance causes, policies, and environments that protect all working people in San Jose and Santa Clara County. I'd like to just thank the City Council and especially the staff of the city who over COVID have really provided essential services, not only to working people who have had jobs and making sure that they are getting paid a fair wage and that their work sites are safe, but also for so many people who struggled over the last 24 months and weren't able to pay their rent, weren't able to feed their kids, needed internet to make sure that their children were learning. So just want to say thank you to everybody who creates the labor movement. The labor movement is working people, and we appreciate the partnership with the City of San Jose, continue to do the important work that we all do together. Thank you.
Mayor, do you mind if I add something about May Day? May Day was also my mother's Labor Day, as that was my birthday.
All right, Councilmember David Cohen is here. We will be remembering Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Mayor. Today we're here to recognize Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. On April 24th, Armenians around the world and here in San Jose commemorated the 107th anniversary